This week's movie, Who Am I? I awake to find myself wearing the face of another man while riding a train destined for one destination every 8 minutes. Stay tuned to find out. You're listening to the Banana Reel Movie Podcast, episode 38. Warning, this show contains spoilers and coarse language, so you've been forewarned. Hey there, folks. We are the Theatre Gorillas. My name is Carlos.
I'm Heath.
I'm Dan.
I'm Lee.
Each and every week, we get together and talk about something we've seen throughout the week that we thought was worth sharing.
A movie that we've seen.
Yes.
Sometimes movie, sometimes a show, sometimes dinner. I just said dinner.
Dinner. When is it ever a show?
I don't know, and now we should do a show.
Okay.
I hear Heather's the musical's coming out. Come on, guys.
Right.
I'm not sure what podcast I'm in here.
It was a movie. Anyway.
Just roll with it.
Anywho, you can always get us at theatregorillas.com or Twitter is at theatregorillas, facebook.com/theatregorillas. We're on YouTube now, just search for us, and you can always get us or send us some feedback, theatregorillas@gmail.com, all spelt the UK English way. All right, so this week we watched Bone Tomahawk, which stars
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, Kurt Russell, Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, Richard Jenkins, Lily Simmons, and a couple of others.
David Arquette.
Yes.
Yeah, there's Davey.
I noticed that.
It's like, what is this the first thing he's done since Eight-Legged Freaks?
Possibly.
Was he the eight-legged freak?
Oh, well.
Wasn't there a Scream after that?
Actually, yeah, there was Scream 4.
There you go.
So there we go.
Yeah.
So
So is this the first thing he's done since Scream 4?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly. Okay, there we go.
yeah, so this is a rather unique film, I'll admit.
Yes.
Can I say, I'm actually really glad that we decided to, not do something that's in the cinema, because really there isn't much in the cinema at the moment to see. But more because I remember seeing like posters for this movie and just going, oh yeah, a Western, give it, another thought. But it's fucking really good.
What I'm going to say right off the bat, there's 2 movies within a season that's come out with Kurt Russell. So Hateful Eight,
Yep.
which we looked at a
2
couple
Westerns.
Two,
that have
sorry.
come out.
Yeah. What did I say?
2 movies.
2 movies.
Well, they
Okay.
all are.
Specifically.
Only 2 movies starring so
What
2
a season.
so 2 westerns this year have come out with Kurt Russell, and Hateful Eight is the one that is everyone was talking about when it came out, and everyone's like, you got to see it. But in all honesty, I think if you're going to look at a movie starring Kurt Russell in a western, this is the one to watch.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, granted, I haven't seen Hateful Eight. I did listen to your podcast of it, and it, I was going to say I actually really want to see it because you have a very good non-spoilery podcast. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah, we did what we could because I don't think Lee had seen it at that point either, so we didn't want to ruin anything.
Seen it.
Right.
But this movie, what's the word I'm
All
trying
right,
to look for?
why don't we just start with a plot? What did we think of the way the story was written?
I thought the story was written fantastically.
Yeah, it was a very clear story. It was obvious where the mystery lied.
Yep.
We don't know what these guys are or do that are committing all of these
Acts
of violence, horrible violence. And yeah, it just brought together some characters, showed us who they were, explained a bit more of their intricacies, and then had a conclusion. And it was really well done.
It was, and
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a big plot. There wasn't really much to
No.
it. It
No.
was like, hey, these people got kidnapped. We better go save them.
yeah, and it
That's
was
pretty much the whole plot. But,
exactly it.
it's the character development and the way they actually presented it.
There's some
that made it
subtleties to each of the
interesting.
characters. The depth of their character. And I'd say, this is something that we often find that a lot of movies these days seem to not bother with character development. Just have a big explosion or two, and that's enough.
See, Deadpool being a great example, even though we love that.
Yeah, no character development.
Well, it's a question of style over substance, really, with that one.
Yeah.
And with this one, it's definitely not style, it's substance, even though style is part of it.
Yeah.
And it's funny that, you know, I kind of go, well, yeah, like once again, it's simple. It was 3 acts, you know, and it was really well you could really tell what the 3 acts works. It was really, really clear. The dialogue between the characters as well, it was fantastic. You were actually wanting to listen to what they were saying. It was really well written. All of their little conversations. And I love the use of kind of the terminology for the time. What does he say to... Patrick Wilson says to Matthew Fox's character right at the beginning, and it kind of set the tone for the way they speak to each other.
Yeah.
You make any flirtatious remarks towards my wife, there'll be a reckoning.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fucking gold. I need to use the word reckoning more in my vocab.
I think you can make a lot of comparisons between this and Hateful Eight. Obviously, they're both Westerns, but they also have that gore factor, so it's sort of a Western meets a horror in both instances.
But it's different, man.
Yeah, no, and that's what I wanted to get to is like Hateful Eight. It just felt like the gore was gratuitous. It was like, okay, we've got to the 3/4 mark. Now we'll just kill everybody in like horrific ways.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, there wasn't that much gore, but it was all for a purpose.
Yeah,
and it really struck a chord.
It was also left as a bit of a mystery. They didn't throw gore at you in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little bit, and you get a bit worried, and then you go, "Oh, that's taken away."
Yep.
And then you sort of forget about it as the story progresses, and then they go, "No, there was gore.
Yeah.
Here it is."
And that's because as well there was such long periods between.
Yeah.
You've got the first initial, gory part at the very beginning of the movie.
And even then, that was only like the slitting of the throat. It wasn't really,
Exactly.
And
it was
and
still a pretty
wasn't over the
confronting thing to see at the first
That's
thing
true.
that you see.
First 10
you
seconds.
don't actually see it.
No, you just see the initial.
You see the initial strike and just a tiny little blood come out.
Yeah, and the
then the
sound.
camera pans up and they give you a bit of sound to it.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit of explanation, just make it seem more gory. That actor, I don't know who he was.
Sid Haig?
The one that died.
Sid Haig.
Yeah. Fuck, I love him.
He's House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
He's in pretty much everything that Rob
Zombie.
Yeah, when he appeared on screen, the first thing I could think of was him in clown makeup.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
That was fantastic. Anyway, so you sort of get his explanation, which makes it seem more gory than it was.
Yeah.
And then, there's a couple of quick flashes of the enemy, who, from memory, just appeared as all black in that first scene.
Yes, they were pretty much all shadowy.
Yeah,
but that's because wasn't it dusk?
Yeah, I don't know. They've managed to look almost completely
either
different.
that or when he was seen, it was under slight cover, which projected shadow. But that's what I found really contrasting was that you have this infamous native creature thing in this area, and when you first see it, it's all in black, and so I'm expecting, like, for the rest of the movie for them to be all black.
Yep.
And then when you actually finally get to see them, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
It actually makes more sense when you do see them, how it is that they come out so quickly from hiding.
Yeah, they're just sandy or that dirt color that's all around the area.
Did you actually at one point, so when we first saw them, I actually thought at first they were going to be, because you know how they crash through the burial ground? I thought they were going to be some form of spirit.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually going to be people, it was going to be like spirits that was tracking
kind of
them.
a supernatural
thing, because I knew that this had a horror vibe to it from what I'd had heard.
Same.
And so I thought, okay, it's going to be spirits. It's going to be, they've angered some spirits. Then finding out that it's actually not, it's just this cannibalistic tribe of Native Americans. It was really...
I do feel like there was an element of supernaturalness to them. Like they weren't completely human.
I think they were meant to sound and appear supernatural.
Yeah.
But I think
is it mutation though?
It's inbreeding.
Yeah.
Mixed with
that when he says
mutilation.
Well, see, is that actually an instrument they sort of dig into their own throats?
I think it's something they put into their own throats, yeah.
Because they don't really show it that clearly.
There's only one explanation to the whole thing, and that's when Patrick Wilson actually catches up to the rest of them.
Is that jewelry?
Yeah. He says, is that jewelry? And then carves it out, and you see it's some kind of instrument.
It takes a long time to cut out. Well, it's like it's actually grown as part of his throat.
Well, it makes me wonder if they insert it to a child.
Yeah.
That's the impression I got.
And let it grow as they grow up.
Yeah, so it's some sort of ritualistic thing they go through as a rite of passage.
And that seems to gel with what we see of the women in their camp too.
Yeah, well, they by the looks of things, they cripple the women and rape them
Yeah,
continuously.
with freaking stakes through their eyes.
Oh yeah,
I didn't see that coming.
It was fucking brutal,
Neither
man.
did they.
because they mentioned earlier that the women were dumb and
And
blind.
crippled, yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't expect
You
to
said,
see.
what does she mean by crippled? Oh, she means real damn crippled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like crippled, and they probably like it's that whole just they're crippled for purpose. Like so,
Yep.
the only thing they're there for
Control.
is to create children.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Mad Max
Yeah.
with the birthing or the milking women.
Yeah.
Yep.
The mother's milk.
Yeah, they're all just there for a purpose and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and for all we know, to their society, it's you're a woman and it's the honor.
Yeah. It's
That-
what you do.
Yeah,
I'm not sure they'd feel the same way
No,
after
of
the
course
first
not.
few seconds of being chosen. So getting back to the plot of it, it was definitely a nice little twist right at the end to see how creepy and fucked up their whole
Yeah.
society was. We knew it was going to be, pretty brutal, but damn, it turned out quite.
Oh, fucking brutal.
Because I
Quite
made
bad.
a note, the dismemberment happened less than 20 minutes before the end of the movie.
Yeah,
So it was very deliberately sort of built up. And again, like they didn't overuse the gore or anything. It served a purpose to progress the story, but nothing more,
Yeah, it was very much so.
I would have expected them to react a bit harder to it, though.
Well, yeah, I suppose. But I
At
mean,
that stage, they're probably a bit
They're probably also
desensitized or something.
well,
but
that and they were almost mortally wounded. Remember, they'd been shot with arrows and had their
Yeah.
arms like chopped up and shit. So they were probably going through
she
shock.
didn't react so much. So imagine what she's seen before that.
Yeah.
She's probably already seen that once.
Well, exactly.
well,
yeah.
there was the guy that from the wanderer into town.
Yeah, the injured guy that she tried to help in the beginning.
Yeah.
yeah, and
So she's probably already seen that whole thing once, and so she's not even thinking it's.
Well, the deputy even said, you were right, he was dangerous. He killed a few of them and desecrated, their burial site.
Yep.
So they had at him. So we don't
Probably,
see it, but
it was
you
probably
can.
worse.
Yep.
And
He
she
wasn't
was,
just lunch.
She was very clearly showing an affected sort of reaction by the end as well. Like she'd been traumatized,
Yep.
So whether it's PTSD or whatever, I don't think her lack of reaction necessarily suggests that she wasn't as horrified as the rest of them.
Speaking of reaction, what did we think of the actor's performance throughout this film?
Oh, the acting was actually really, really good. I thought the acting was fantastic. The dialogue delivery was amazing. I love Patrick Wilson. I always say this. This is, I think, the third Patrick Wilson film we've done that he's been in.
It's the second one that I can remember. What was the third? There was Hard Candy, this one.
Hard Candy, this one. Did we do Sinister?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I've seen a lot of movies with him in it. Anyway, he's amazing. Like, he's a very good actor, and he's like a chameleon as well. He can play any role really well, and I really wish he's getting more and more things because I'm seeing him so much, more and more stuff.
I found personally, when it came to the actors, I found all their performances quite sharp and to the point, and they stuck to their characters, and their characters were all defined to particular, I wouldn't say stereotypes so much, but whatever their characters' sort of boundaries were, they never exceeded that, which was great, particularly with the character that's all dressed in white, which is Matthew Fox's character, Bruder.
Yeah.
He's he's this character that is stern, has seen a lot of stuff in his time, but has also managed to come out on top, and he's very
Cavalier?
and it's just like I've worked hard for what I've got.
Yep, and he's very sure of himself, and then we find out later on that it's not actually so much sure of himself. He's built an image for himself and then kept everybody else at distance because of how much loss he suffered in his past.
Yeah.
And I actually, one thing I did really like his character for the fact that of how stern he was in controlling the other characters as well. Like, as in, when I say controlling, like, for example, making a perimeter. When they sleep, try to make sure that if they do get attacked at night, someone can do something.
Yeah, I
even
don't
though
know
he's
whether-
the first one that gets attacked at night.
Yeah. I don't know whether controlling is the right word.
No,
because-
controlling it's more controlling the situation.
Yeah, no, it was more that he was separate from the structure within the group. He was an outlier because Kurt Russell's character, Sheriff Hunt, often had to pull him up and say, hey, don't do that, or that's not
okay,
cool.
that's true. Yeah.
So he's affected this sort of loner image of himself.
Yeah.
So what was his motivation then? His motivation was just to go and kill more Indians, or a little bit of what he said, that I'm trying to make amends
don't-
for being responsible for that guy's wife?
I don't see
Being
him
pulled
as a
into it?
liar. I see him as someone who always speaks the truth, speaks his mind, and doesn't
not
have
afraid.
that filter.
Yeah, he's not afraid of telling people what he thinks.
Yeah. So I think when he says, I made a promise to
Look
Patrick
after him.
Wilson's wife and to the
and to Patrick Wilson.
Yeah.
that I'd bring it home.
Yeah, so he feels responsible in that aspect because he was involved in the fact that when she gets kidnapped.
Yeah, you're right. And then especially because what happened to his family
Yeah.
and whatnot, he probably,
He
does have
doesn't
that,
want to leave
that
a
hatred.
woman with those
Savages, basically.
savages. Yeah, that's his point of view.
I see him as a chaotic good sort of character. So the ends justify the means,
Yeah.
but the ends are always somewhat honorific.
Yeah.
So, he'll do anything to get there.
That's one thing I was going to say. This movie shows a lot of different approaches to honor and loyalty. Each of these characters has it in a different way.
Absolutely. And well, actually, speaking of another one that's got it, got it in a completely different way, Richard Jenkins' character, Chicory, who
I loved him.
I loved him
He
as
was
well.
so
I thought he
good.
was fucking brilliant. But also, he's the one character as well that you think, one, because, you think because of this, he's lost his wife, he's, so that he loves, that you kind of get
He's the
vibe.
one that's ready to die.
He's ready to die. He's on this mission because he knows he's not going to come back and he's going to meet his wife.
Yep.
And yet he's one of the only ones that survives. And it's kind of like, what, is that a bad thing or is that actually a good thing?
I don't think he planned on dying on the mission. I think he just followed the sheriff.
No, I
because
think-
he's got like a
no.
dogged determination.
He was
to-
a 50-50. He
I
said,
think
I'll see you back here or up there.
There,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah, I don't
he's
think-
willing to die.
Yeah, but he didn't set out expecting to die.
No, I see his character more in the vein of since his wife had passed away, he has been a little bit lost.
Yeah.
And the sheriff is the one that's helped
So
him
it's a
pick up
bit
the
of a-
pieces.
It's,
Yeah,
it's a bit of
exactly.
I was going to say puppy, but it's a bit of the old loyal dog.
But it's exactly that. I think he is very much the puppy mentality of this guy has shown me how to sort of piece everything back together, and I'm going to do everything I need.
He'd spent in the first scene, he's going, I forgot to eat or something for a day.
No,
or
he goes,
something.
I haven't had a good meal in a day.
Yeah, and then I haven't had anything in a day.
Yeah, and it's because his wife isn't there to...
Yeah, so he's a little bit lost on how to make food
He doesn't
for
even know
himself.
how to eat without being told.
Yeah.
But also, when I love it, he comes in and he goes, oh, that tea smells awful. Smells awful. It's soup.
Oh, it actually smells pretty good.
It actually
for
smells
soup.
pretty good.
Yeah, because you know what tea should smell
yeah,
like.
yeah. I love it. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't know how to eat. He's like, you've got to blow on it first.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
It
'cause
just
remember-
spits
And then
it
he
out on the
spits it
floor.
out.
yeah.
Yeah, Sheriff Hunt specifically says to him, blow on it first, and then he neglects that advice
Yeah, that's right.
completely.
Yeah, and that's where what's the lady's name? Sorry, right, the one they're actually going to find.
Lil
Samantha,
Lily Simmons.
Lily Simmons, the actress.
The
Yeah, so
character
the
is
character's
Samantha.
not Samantha. So Samantha actually goes, "This is what's so hard about the frontier. Fucking idiots."
Yeah,
or
that's-
whatever her exact words
Yeah,
were.
yeah,
but it
that's
was basically it. Fucking idiots
Idiots,
is the
that's
hardest
right.
thing about the frontier. It's not the Indians. It's not the starvation. It's just people doing dumb shit and
that's-
not knowing any better.
And that's exactly it. And as well with the, because wasn't she also blaming them for bringing the husband along?
Yeah. Well,
She-
give
it's
him
like
a
he-
fucking
yeah,
a direction to find us.
Exactly,
You're going to walk him straight into them.
Yeah, exactly right.
A crippled man.
And here's another one who you'd expect who is basically at the stage where he may lose his leg.
Oh, did anyone else think it was cut off?
I did.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why else would you
did
get
he
ready
do-
to set it and pull out a really sharp severing knife, like
Yeah.
serrated knife? Like, why would you do that
They
otherwise?
didn't cut it
And
off.
no.
Did anyone else think they were going to?
I thought they were going to, but I knew.
And then when they walked away and he's laying there unconscious, there's a bush covering where his leg is, so you can't quite see.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn it,
'Cause
they've
remember-
hidden it on purpose.
Yeah, remember when he wakes back up, he looks down and
He goes,
he has a relieved look on his face. Yeah,
And I was just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And I turned to my girlfriend and said, sorry, fiance. Turned to my fiance and said, I keep doing that now. Turned to my fiance and said, oh, we all thought he had his leg missing. She's like, that was a great movie. We thought his leg was missing. Yeah.
But I love how you put it as we all thought.
Yeah.
It's just cute.
We as the audience.
Yeah.
We as the audience.
the
thought-
royal we.
right. Yeah.
No, I went earlier. It's okay.
So,
yeah.
what do we think of the actual sort of technical side of this movie?
I thought it was really clever. And I noticed where they kept a very close close scene. Like it was only a very short throw camera in really close surroundings. They didn't show a lot of big open scenes. I'm going, they're saving money by doing this. They're focusing on the characters. It's not wasteful in any way. They give an idea of the scale on a few big shots and then turn the camera around and then have them looking at the big scene from a very close background.
I feel like that's a traditional trope of Westerns in general.
Yeah. And so, when I first turned up tonight to record, I was asking you guys, what was the budget for this? And they did very well to keep the budget down.
Yeah, well, the budget, if you are unaware, is $1.8 million. It is fuck all.
It's tiny for Hollywood.
And you have numbers of key actors in this movie.
Oh, like I said, all the actors that you've got in it, Matthew Fox, Patrick Wilson, Kurt Russell, all of them fantastic.
Yeah.
So to pull everyone in for that sort of a budget and then come up with a movie this cinematically appealing, the visuals are stunning, the color work is great. The way that when they're all camping and there is practically no lighting.
Yeah.
And there's just enough just so you can see shadows on shadows.
Yeah, and it was really well done. Like I'm not sure what do you guys think of technically wise? Like I'm not into movie making as much.
Yeah.
Look, the thing is there wasn't much that they could do because really the focus of the film is the 4 men on the mission. So really, you don't need to show that much outside of that.
Well, if it was anything else, like from what I've seen of Revenant, they can bring a helicopter in and do a full huge chase scene of them, of a camera sort of chasing them as they're walking across a vast expanse.
But
it's useless.
It's useless. The movie didn't need it.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a Western thing. You don't do that in Westerns.
Exactly.
Generally speaking.
And that's the thing as well. Like they've done it traditionally as possible.
The genre is quite old. They didn't have that sort of technology, so it was never a feature.
Yeah.
In terms of you're talking about camera angles and having the helicopter do a wide shot from above, there was only really one major sort of shot, or two really. There's one where they're all on the horses in line, sort of riding out when they're leaving the town. Mm-hmm. But there was one which was really clever, I thought, it's just using one camera, and it's when Patrick Wilson has drifted behind and he's trying to catch up and he's struggling to walk, and he's like, look, you know what? Sleep in the day, I'll walk at night, and when I catch up to you guys, I'll sleep until you're ready to leave again. And so when he's walking, you can see his struggle. And then the camera shot I'm talking about is when they've gotten up to get ready to walk, he's taken that long to get to them, and he's actually walked past them. And they're standing up on the mountain behind him, and they're like, hey, how you going? And he's like, oh, fuck. And he has to turn around and keep going.
Yeah.
And so even then, that was only a small shot because I remember the shot you're talking about. It's like they were just up there.
Yeah, so they're way in the background. You can't even tell who it is.
Exactly.
But you can just hear their voices. But all you've got is Patrick Wilson right at the front. And that's one of those wide shots that I think works really well.
Just enough to give you the sense of scale.
Yeah.
And then back to the close shots for showing character development, having the conversation, having, what's the old guy's name again? Just him blabbering. Chicory blabbing on about stuff, sort of everyone getting annoyed at it or liking it or whatever. And it was that sort of bonding between all the characters that helped development.
Well, one thing I wanted to actually talk about through this sort of part of our discussion is the sound design for the actual natives that live in the caves. When every time people get close to where they are, you hear these strange howling sounds that sort of sound like wolves and instruments. And
then almost like whistles at some points, and then it goes really otherworldly.
And how unique was it when you find out that those sounds are actually coming from the people themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought at first it was coyotes or some form of
some weird
animal.
howl, yeah. I was always, when we got to that point and we actually hear Patrick Wilson's character say, oh, what is this jewelry? And he goes for one of the dead Indians' throats and has to cut out whatever it was, and he figures out that it's a sound-producing device. Actually, I was thinking about it now.
Grossly puts it to his lips.
Grossly puts
While
it to
it's
his
covered
lips.
in blood, yeah.
It took him a good 30 seconds or so to cut it free. It was pretty bad.
Actually, I remember he's there spitting out as well. He's like,
Yeah.
Every time he bloody used it.
Yeah, just fucking at one point, you'd think you just wipe it a little. Anyway, that we sort of get an idea of that at first when Matthew Fox's character kills one. He sort of steps on its chest and water just sprays up out of its neck.
No,
yeah, that's right.
Or spit,
And
whatever
the
it is.
sound comes as well.
Yeah, and so we go, oh.
And
there's
that
a
was also
sort of-
his downfall.
Yeah,
Because he was trying to draw them out as well.
He was, but he didn't know what that was.
No.
He was purely, checking his enemy,
Yeah.
you know, trying to learn as much as he could.
he gave
But
away his position.
He gave away his position completely because they came running right to him.
Actually, one technical thing, because now that just reminded me of something that they kind of did, which you could say would be a failing point. They introduced something and they didn't use it.
What was it?
The dynamite.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, when the whole
They made an effort to discuss about it twice.
they made it,
And he tried to use
and he
it.
tried, but it didn't go off. It's the whole thing. It's the whole Hitchcock thing. If you're going to introduce a gun, it better go off.
It's not Hitchcock, it's Chekhov. Chekhov's gun.
Chekhov. There we go.
If you
Sorry.
introduce a gun in Act 1,
Yeah.
it's got to be used by Act 3.
There you go.
But see, the dynamite was sort of introduced in the second act or towards the end of the second act.
No,
Yeah.
but
So-
at the same time,
Still, it gets two mentions.
it was used in Act 3
Yeah, okay. I take the
as
point,
a
yeah.
device,
Yeah.
and the effect was he never got to use it.
Yeah.
So his death resulted.
Didn't go off though.
And no, but that's what I'm saying. He used it as a plot device,
Yeah, yeah.
and its effect was not going off.
But here's my question in relation to Heath's point. Did we even get to see it?
No, that's actually
didn't
something
need
we
to.
didn't. Yeah, they didn't actually get it out and say here. They just said, "I've got it."
Yeah, and that's a really clever thing to do. Yeah, you reduce the number of props you need.
Yeah,
That's
just
how
go.
they saved all that money.
Now,
Yeah,
one
75
more thing.
cents on a little paper mache dynamite that says dynamite on
Get
the
one of
side.
their kids to make it.
Yeah,
One more thing I wanted to talk about was the actual makeup of the natives. That was great. And at one point when, I can't even remember who it was, but when shit starts going down and they're getting arrows and rocks and whatever else thrown at them, one of them turns around to see one of the natives just standing right next to him.
yeah.
But he wasn't there a second ago. Like, where did he come from?
They move so silently and they're unafraid of the guns.
Yep. And
it's,
also,
it's so creepy in that regard.
and how they're covered in the dust, the white dust. That's their camouflage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
they're
blend
quite
in.
literally. At one point, when they go, you see the entrance to their area.
Cave.
Yeah, well, it's not at that point. It's not a cave. It's the open space with what looks like the graveyard.
Yeah,
Burial ground, yeah.
So the entrance to that has like different animal skulls in the walls. At one stage, I was half expecting those skulls
To
to
start
actually
moving.
be the natives just standing there watching
Yeah.
Covering their heads or something.
and just being on guard.
Yeah.
It's a shame it didn't get used, but it was good that it sort of at least made me hope that it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could see that. I mean, it wouldn't be a big stretch considering more makeup wise as well. The natives, well, these natives anyway. I mean, they had bones. They were using animal bones and they were using animal skulls, like
As implants.
as implants. Like you saw the leader, who is actually called Boar Tusks, has tusks implanted into his head.
Do you reckon they came from a boar? That's a good chance.
I think it came from a boar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If the
Maybe
character's
from the
name is Bortusk, I would say they
yeah.
probably did.
It may have come from a boar. I don't know.
Yeah. So there was no real music throughout the whole movie, was there? Does anyone remember it?
Well,
I
it
think there
builds
was.
at the end.
I think there was some music for when he's starting to fall asleep walking. I think there was a little chime of music. I'm thinking, oh, is that the whistles? And it wasn't. And he sort of falls asleep standing up. And then I think, towards the end. But other than that, they didn't use music at all. I'm not sure.
I can't really remember anything musically.
And then the end credits was this weird operatic Western song. I didn't quite understand where that came from. Especially
right.
since it had been so devoid of music in the actual movie.
Actually, I do remember that when it came, the end credits music came on. Myself and my girlfriend and whatnot, we looked at each other and just went, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, maybe that was a bit more towards the classic Western.
Yeah.
You know, they have a big overture in the beginning, and then they have some kind of singing. Or never thought it would be
In all honesty,
operatic. It was.
I did not
Pay
even
attention?
pay it. No, well, I didn't care to listen to it after the movie had finished. Reason being is I found this movie to be really entertaining, but I found the journey dragged just a little bit. So it got to that point where I'm like, okay, something really needs to happen soon. And right at that point where I had enough, the part that we all talked about where the deputy gets splayed in half,
Yeah.
that happened. And at that point,
So-
my whole
it's
whole
happening.
demeanor changed. Like if you were sitting there watching me watch this movie,
Do you mean
it would have
demeanor or
been
trousers?
well both. You would have seen me seriously just sit there and nice and calm, going, "Oh, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this. Okay, needs to hurry up a bit. What the fuck?" And I literally was just like this the rest of the time. I was pouting disgust, going,
Yeah.
and it just stayed there for the rest of the movie, going, "What else is going to happen?"
Yeah.
And I mean, Kurt Russell cops it bad. Like he honestly, they figure out his trick with the opium.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? Fuck you. And they cut half his gut open and shove the container into a burning hot metal container into the
His
wound.
hip flask is just in his hip.
And then shoot him in the fucking stern.
Oh dear.
But he's still, can I say, and after that, badass Kurt Russell. He's just going, I'll still take some of you on.
Yep. And I like that at the end. They just give him those 3 bullet shots and you go, yep, he's done his duty.
Yep. Done.
Good work. You poor bastard.
With your fantastic mustache.
Yeah. I thought the beginning, I was thinking about it now, like they're going to need a new they're going to need a new sheriff, right? And then I thought in the beginning they've already ordered a new sheriff. Geez, the mayor and the mayor's wife are a waste of time, weren't they?
Oh,
I was just thinking about it.
Actually-
From the first scene, they built up so much of the town's character and then just went, no, fuck it.
actually, it's funnily enough that you say the mayor and the mayor's wife. One thing I did get from this movie, so the white people, the Caucasians, are very advanced, very civilized. And did you notice that the women were both in positions of power?
Yes.
You had Lily, who's obviously a medical practitioner.
Yeah,
And
well,
then-
at least in training from the doctor.
Exactly right. And then you had the mayor's wife. Now, the mayor's wife, granted, isn't the mayor, but she was the one doing all the talking. She was the one doing all the control. The mayor was just there.
Yeah.
He was just a bumbling idiot.
Something tells me that if he wasn't the mayor, he wouldn't have been married.
But then when they showed the savages, the Native Americans,
Yes, they were
their
slaves,
women are
basically.
brutalized and crippled. And yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I
that's
found-
a nice contrast.
I think, but it does make me go, is that, how you were
On
mentioning
purpose.
old Western motifs?
Yeah.
Is that to say, is it that old Western motif of, not the savage Native American and the noble white man?
Yeah, the civilized white man. Well, see, I was thinking about that, the racial sort of stereotyping. At the very beginning, they did go to pains to stress that they weren't Native Americans.
And I know
that they
that-
weren't Indians.
Exactly right.
They were troglodytes. They were cave dwellers. They weren't even human.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that was an attempt by the director to sort of distance himself from any claims of racial stereotyping and
Yeah.
profiling.
Yeah.
But then I guess, in the context of the movie, it makes sense because it's presented from the point of view of Westerners.
Exactly right,
So
yeah.
that's the way they viewed.
He sort of did
Native
tread the line a
Americans.
little bit with the Native American tracker they were using.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And he
yeah.
sort of showed him as very civilized and advanced, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Well, he was a professor. That wasn't he? Actually, his title, professor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's sort of like Matthew, was it?
Matthew
Matthew
Fox.
Fox's character is basically just like, well, I've killed more Indians than any of you. He says that was a bit of a brute or harsh thing to say or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
He goes, well, it's true. So there was that half a second of standoff between
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just thinking about your comment before with the whole racial thing, Heath. And it's funny, like you guys mentioned how the director tried to stay away from it, but there's still 2 points in which it still sort of breaks that. And one is with that native that is in the town that gives his opinion, even though saying they're troglodytes, they're nothing to do with Native Americans. We fucking hate them. We're not going anywhere near them either.
Yeah.
We'll show you where they are.
Yeah.
Right. So there's racial insensitivity in that scene itself from
from everyone.
from what's the character's name again? From Brooder,
Yeah.
right? Which you mentioned, Lee. So that was one instance of sort of where it broke it. But the other one is they kill the stable boy, and then they ask, why didn't they eat him? Because he's black.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
see,
they-
no, very right, absolutely.
They don't eat black people.
But see, situations like that are a reflection of the attitudes of the time. You know, so that's the way people thought and spoke back then.
Yeah, no. I get that.
What I'm getting at with the distinction between the troglodytes, the cave dwellers, and the Indians is that he sort of it felt like that was the director's touch. So he wasn't trying to excuse it because it was the time. He was deliberately trying to say, okay, no, these
rules,
people are outside of.
Yeah, these rules are part of my fiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
fair enough.
And I think that's actually a good point to make as well, that it's not that he was trying to make this statement of, Native Americans savages and it's more and whatnot. It's more, he did make his good point of trying to distance himself from saying that that's what his message was. Yeah, it was an interesting thing to see in that, though. Like how, it was more what I was trying to say, that how women in civilized society were actually in positions of power, even though at that time they really wouldn't have been.
Yeah, no, there's definitely something to that, I think. Yeah.
I'm also going to bring up one more thing. Lee, you also mentioned how the mayor was such a useless character.
Yeah.
It actually portrays in that scene. The more I think about it, it portrays in that scene. So the mayor's wife's come in going, why wasn't the mayor involved? This is an important decision where the mayor should be involved. And what does Kurt Russell's character do?
Pushes him out of the way, doesn't he?
Pretty much ignores the shit out of him. And
Yeah,
in the
and
end,
he only-
walks right past them, doesn't acknowledge them.
No, he acknowledges the mayor's wife and talks directly to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. That happens. Yeah. Anytime no one says anything to the mayor at all.
Yeah.
And so for me, the whole idea of the mayor, like it is a civilized town, and they're showing how far this town has progressed in the frontiers. But the mayor is such a useless character that the sheriff can't give two shits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
why he's never seen or heard from again in the film.
I think it's probably also speaking to his intelligence that he's able to identify who's actually in charge.
Of course.
Yeah, and whereas someone like, God, I can't remember anyone's names. The old bloke wouldn't have been able to
Chicory.
tell. Chicory wouldn't have been able to figure that out. Yeah, he was still completely blown away by the flea circus.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. That was a touching scene.
So-
wasn't
That
it?
was actually touching, where he goes, yeah, that one was real. And he goes, I knew it. Oh.
Yeah, with Samantha. Yeah.
At that point, I went, "Oh fuck, he's going to die next."
Yeah, I knew it.
right.
I was like, and he's gone.
Oh,
Which was
heartwarming and
actually nice when the person you thought was going to survive ends up dying, and the exchange of dialogue is a little bit of a tearjerker.
Yeah,
And Kurt Russell says something really nice, and it's basically, you know what? Say goodbye to my wife, and I say hello to yours.
Yeah,
that was
actually, yeah.
that was excellent.
That was a top line.
Yeah.
So-
See, once again, the writing in this film, the dialogue was just fucking on point.
Yeah,
Like there was nothing that was said that wasn't poignant and actually
had a use.
had a use and actually worked the plot. And
Whenever some conversation did tend to drag, and it was always from Chicory,
yeah,
it was always the sheriff neatly and politely nipping it in the bud because it was pointless. Like, this is how you would fix it. There you go, blah, blah, blah. And moving on.
exactly. It was so natural. And I think, with the scenes with Chicory, I think is the best way to that pointed that out, because he would rattle on, kind of like the way I am now. But
Sorry, I stopped paying attention like 10 minutes
and that's
ago.
pretty much it. And so, yeah, like it was really natural the way it was portrayed, even on film. It was
I'm
really
going to
good.
bring up the comparison to Hateful Eight again, but it seems like you said, every line of dialogue in this is very deliberate. There's nothing superfluous. Like, it all serves a purpose.
Yeah.
Where it seems like Hateful Eight was the opposite end of the spectrum. It's
Used as a distraction, or
yeah. It's almost like Tarantino now feels like it's necessary to fill his movies with dialogue without necessarily having any purpose to much of it.
Yeah.
Like it serves a role for character development or exposition, but yeah, to what end really? Like by the end of Hateful Eight, you're like, oh, I know a little bit about this person, a little bit about that, but it had no effect on the actual narrative at all.
yeah.
It was just
Unfortunately,
like
I can't compare
superfluous.
because I haven't seen it.
Right.
But yeah,
I will
take your
agree
point.
with you on that one, Dan, because it's more of a take of with Bone Tomahawk. Like when they talk, there is a little bit of like banter. You learn a little bit of the character, and then you move on. And the next conversation is building that trust between the characters through their journey.
Or getting rid of some.
Yeah, well, that. But with Hateful Eight, you are right. A lot of it is just superfluous garbage that's thrown out in the air that you may catch every 10th word. And in the end, by the time the scene is over, it's like, what the fuck are they actually talking about?
Yeah, which is where something like Pulp Fiction gets so many rewatches because there's so much depth to it. But I'm wondering whether Hateful Eight actually has that depth.
Yeah, I don't think so. And obviously with Pulp Fiction and the earlier movies, the the narrative helps as well, you know, so you are constantly trying to work out how this works in context to what's gone before and what's going to come and
when
stuff.
something's
So,
yeah.
it gives
Is
your
Hateful
mind
Eight
something more to do.
end-to-end straight line? And one flashback scene, I think, from memory?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's time to wrap up on this one.
Wait,
Yeah?
Well,
You've got something you want to add?
I was going to say. Yeah, just about the fact that there's one thing I wanted to add about the plot. We were talking about before that it was very clean, very well written, and every part of it was served a purpose. And I was thinking, yeah, this would make a really, really good stage play. And then I thought, no, the dividing someone in half scene wouldn't translate as well. But other than that, it works really well as a stage play. So I don't know how they're going to turn it into
stage
Bone
play?
Tomahawk the musical. But
If you were to
He
do it as a
cuts
stage
my
play,
balls.
there is a way to do it. And it
that guy'd be mumbling at that point. He had his own scalp in his throat.
the one way to probably do it as a stage play is to have an actor who is fat, but not. It's actually a suit.
Oh, a fat suit, yeah.
And when you see them again, that fat is actually fake intestines that they can be pulled out and pretend to be chewed on. And
If they can do Evil Dead the musical, I'm sure they'd find a way.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have done that?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I missed out.
Yeah, not in Australia.
Well, if you like musicals.
damn you, witches! Anyway.
Klatuverata Nick.
Anyway, all right. So wrapping up, I enjoyed this movie. I did find it, like I said before, it does drag a little bit through the journey. I think it could have been cut short maybe by 10 minutes. But in saying that, you do find some really interesting pieces throughout that whole journey, such as Bruder. You find out his history. You find out why he's so stern and cold. You find that even though he has this persona, deep down he's really just as scared as the rest of us, especially when he has his death scene. He has his moment of truth, but he's still that high righteous gentleman. He's like, I'm too vain to die by amputee. You know, like I'm too vain to lose a limb. I'm gonna go this way.
Yeah, exactly.
But so the characters are drawn well. They each have their own pigeonhole and pegging, and they stick to it. They don't cross the line. And every character, every character actually merges well together, and they have a good performance together.
Agreed.
This movie has very memorable scenes, particularly the flailing of their lunch. Now,
The Cannibal's Lunch.
yes, in any case, I'm going to give this one 4.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big. Well, it's actually funny. Like I said, if we're going on the basis of what did we find wrong with it or anything like that, it's really hard to fault this movie. I really, really loved it. It was great. I loved the dialogue. I love you say the journey went a little bit long. Yeah, I thought maybe a little bit at points, but I loved the dialogue that was happening throughout that entire thing. I thought it was incredibly well written. I really look forward to seeing if... I actually kind of want to read the guy's novels because they sound like they'd be pretty good. Bit of sci-fi, bit of crime novels. I like that sort of shit. But yeah, so can I give it a perfect score though? Well, no, because I don't think, I didn't come out of it going, oh my God, that's the best. I really, really want to rewatch it. I would watch it again. I recommend anyone who hasn't seen it, go and see it. But yeah, no, I don't think I'd do that. So I think I'm actually also going to go 4. I'm going to go 4. I'm going to give a half. I'm going to go 4 bananas.
Righty-o. Well, yeah, I think generally speaking, I agree with both you guys. Maybe it did drag on a little long in the middle, but I think it was paced really well in that, like you said, Heath, earlier on, it's a very clear 3-act structure, but the last act, like I mentioned, literally only lasts about 20 minutes. So it has a natural ebb and flow that worked really well. Obviously, all the characters are typical archetypes of Western movies. So, like you said, Carlos, they do play to their character. But I like the way that you subtly got the subtle reveal of their backstories, and so there was development in the characters as well. And I just love the idea that they started off like it was a Western, and for most of the movie it is. It's only sort of right at the end that it takes this macabre turn, and it sort of comes out of nowhere, but at the same time it fits,
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was a
That's
genre
sort of
change.
what they were worried about. They were worried about cannibals. I think the only thing that was sort of surprising about it was that we got to see a lot of the butchery process.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, it sort of takes a somewhat supernatural turn in the way that the cannibals themselves are presented. They don't look quite human or act quite human. But so overall, I quite enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was a remarkable film. It was good. It'd be interesting to see the legacy it has on movies like in this genre moving forwards. Obviously, we've had 2 massive westerns in the last 12 months. So it'd be nice to see more stuff like this that's shot well and acted well and tells a neat little story. So I'm going to say 3.5.
3.5. 3.5
Bananas. Maybe a couple of stars thrown in there as well. Just for fun.
Star banana?
Stars?
Star banana?
Stars or what
I was thinking confetti.
Spurs.
Yeah.
Spurs.
Spurs. Okay. Yeah.
No, we're not doing that.
Right.
What?
All right. Who's
Voted
vetoed
down.
Oh, no, because, there's that fucking idiot on that radio show where he does the film reviews and then every time
Lee?
he changes movies. Anyway.
That guy.
That
Okay.
fucking idiot.
Fuck
Anyway.
that guy.
I hate him. Oh. Who are you talking about again?
Just move on.
Moving right along. My rating for this one is exactly like you guys were saying, Heath and Dan. You find out what's wrong with it. It's not going to get a perfect score because it's not something that I went, oh my God, that was the best thing I've ever seen. There's quite a few movies where I have done that. So not a perfect score. What was wrong with it? I suppose I was thinking about it just towards the end there, the character development we're talking about. I think the only real character that got so much an unexpected reveal was actually Fox's character. He's the one that had the depth to his character. Everybody else was still sticking to their archetype pretty much. So, I think maybe if we had a bit more of the history of some of the other characters, they were sort of little dribs and drabs, but they were... there wasn't much more to the sheriff than my wife's been sick, I'm the sheriff. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
But he was a strong character to begin with.
He
so
was
it
a strong character, and he just played to that. That's fine. The special effects, I think 1 or 2 of the deaths, at least of the mutant troglodytes, was fairly obviously a rubber dummy, like the one he was chopping up the throat of.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That they shouldn't have focused so much. They should have shown it just hit the deck and then his point of view and the sound. That would have been enough. You could see, I think when he's knelt down next to it, you could see the face had sort of caved in a little bit. Anyway, other than that, it was really well told, a very clean-cut story, and really, I really did enjoy it. I'm not sure if I'll watch it a second time, but I definitely recommend people that have, just a little bit of a strong stomach that this is a fantastic story and a really good. Now, I won't tell them it's a twist at the end, but I'll tell them that this is a good modern interpretation of what a Western should be. And as far as bananas go, I'm going to give it 4 bananas.
4 bananas. All right, so that is our discussion on Bone Tomahawk. So get out there and watch it. We all recommend it. So anyway,
Just do it.
do
Seriously.
it.
Exactly.
Do it.
And,
Do it.
Don't eat dinner at the same time.
And
Finish dinner in the first act.
it's definitely not a dessert film.
We're saying choose dinner properly.
Yeah.
We're saying don't go for the big serving of barbecue ribs or a dripping rare steak.
Or maybe
I'm laughing
a lamb leg.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because
if you're a vegetarian, this is the movie for you.
I'm laughing because in my head popped this idea of some little Jewish boy coming of age, ready to have his circumcision. And it's like, so what's involved? And the parents just play that.
This will be you.
Oh,
Shalom.
Shalom.
no. No.
We apologize to any of our Jewish listeners.
Anyway,
Don't worry, I don't think we got any.
definitely
Well,
not
not
after
anymore.
that.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Bye. Oh, wait, and stay tuned for the end of the theme song. Find out what this week's movie Who Am I is. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Right.
All right, so you've stayed on to find out what this week's movie Who Am I is, and it is.
I was going to say,
Groundhog Day.
the last time you did that, find out what the movie at the end of this is. Jesus Christ.
You're talking like a YouTube celebrity.
No.
It's Groundhog Day.
Oh, God. Edit that in, Dan.
Yeah.
All right, so you've stayed.
Fucking
All
hell.
right. This podcast is never going to end. People are going to be here like 2 weeks from the moment they started, still listening, going.
This
When will
podcast
this
brought
stop?
to you by ADHD and Tourette's.
and Red Bull. Anyway, so you've stayed in. Oh, fucking hell.
You've stayed in. Good on you.
You live at home with a couple of cats.
Persevering through this mess of a podcast.
Oh, God.
It'll be okay. It'll be over eventually.
Has anyone copyrighted Podcast?
Because this is turning out shit.
All right, let me give you a hand. So you've stayed on to the end of the theme song to find out the Who Am I for this week. And it is?
Source code.
Ah, right.
It was pretty good. I love that movie.
I have not seen it.
It was different, came out of nowhere, and definitely left a little bit of a lasting impression.
Yeah, for me, it was one of those ones like it wasn't a particularly great movie, but I can watch a bad movie if it's got an interesting storyline.
Yeah, I
Like, that's
love
the hook.
sci-fi, so that
Yeah.
hooked me immediately. And we can't give away the ending of that one because we're not reviewing it.
Right.
But
So if
It
you
was-
haven't seen it, Heath, you definitely should.
yep, Heath and anyone listening,
Anyone else
not
who's named Heath?
even our Jewish listeners that hung on right until the end.
Yes.
Pre and post circumcision.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See ya.
Yeah.
Right.
This podcast is recorded and produced by Theatre Gorillas. Edited by Dan Clark.
Someday, somewhere.
Over the rainbow?
None of that shit.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.